Hello, everyone. We're here at the NCBFAA conference. It is day 3, the last day, and I'm talking to Larry Hanson, which he is with Sandler and Travis,
I am.
which is a big sponsor of
Sure.
this conference.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And I think all you guys are representing, and or there's Lenny, there's you. So that's been amazing. And you guys are speakers on the panels as well. Now, can you talk a little bit about your session?
Oh, yeah, we have a session this morning about broker enforcement. And that means a couple of different things here, 2 different levels. One of them is just our brokers doing their job well. 111 requires brokers to exercise responsible supervision and control in their operation of their brokerage. There's a need to make sure that they are doing a good job for the sake of the importing public. And that's one level of enforcement. They would look at things like their reject rate, other problems they might have, and then take corrective action where it's appropriate, up to and including even losing your broker's license. So it's a very serious administrative responsibility here. But the other enforcement that we're seeing now is broker responsibility for the different things they file. This goes back a long ways. It goes back to a number of years ago when customs started pushing more of the identification of the importer, information of the identity of the importer onto the customs house broker. They'd always have to have a power of attorney, but now they want to verify to a greater extent the validity of that power of attorney. And with good reason, because customs has found there are people who have abused the process, and customs has a strong need to make sure that the importers are who they say they are, the bond system works and everything else. And if you have fraud in that, that's an issue. And in all fairness, there have been some brokers who've done a very poor job of that, but most do not. Very good job of these. They just want to know what exactly they can do, and then they will do it.
I've talked about this a few times on the podcast, but it is that the importers working directly with the brokers, they should still check the work and they should still make sure that everything is correct. Right? They
Absolutely.
shouldn't give everything to the broker and say, that's it, I'm not involved anymore.
The broker is a very important, indispensable job here, but the importer has a primary responsibility for compliance. You can delegate that to a good broker. There are many good brokers who attend things like the NCBFAA.
Yeah.
These are the best brokers. They're the ones who take care of these things at a higher level. And there are times I've met with brokers who have never heard of NCBFAA. They're usually a lower level broker who are going to have more mistakes here. And those mistakes now are getting very serious. The last part of the broker enforcement is, for want of a better phrase, broker malpractice, where brokers simply have not done the job well, and they can get sued for that. That's a very serious problem these days, because if a broker makes a mistake and there's a delay, a late payment or something like that, that's not insurmountable. But if there's an error in classification or an error in AD/CVD applicability, or now 232 or other Trump tariff collections, the implications could be led to millions. Any importer who gets assessed these millions of dollars they were not anticipating will look to blame someone. And very often they want to blame the customs house broker. And that's where brokers have really got to defend themselves. And that's the point of our program here today. What can brokers do in part to protect themselves from
Yeah.
this? So,
And then I think what is important as well is that they're getting a law perspective here. Now, brokers can talk, they can mingle and discuss, what the challenges are, but ultimately they're going to need a law perspective to get some of their most important decisions done. How does your perspective help them kind of navigate through this uncertainty currently, or through these changes?
it helps in 2 ways. First of all, we have legal answers sometimes. We follow the law more closely than a broker ever could. Court cases are now relevant, and just discussions with customers are important. We have an eye to those type of things. That's a good thing that we can add to people.
Right.
The other is just a matter of strategy. Like in the malpractice situation, I have a half-day seminar on broker self-defense, customs house broker self-defense. And the whole point is to make sure you do things so you will not be sued. There's a couple obvious things. Good communication is always the key between the importer and the broker, and everyone would agree with that. The other thing is recognize that there are sometimes importers who will just lie. They will lie about the product and to avoid paying AD/CVD, and then blame the broker when they get caught. And every single broker knows that they get blamed for everything, and so they've got to push back on that, make sure that there's any mistakes here, it is the fault of the importer as the primary obligation. Brokers should help with that. There should be a good team here. That the brokers have to avoid the situation where they can get blamed for actions taken by the importer, intentionally or not.
I have to say that you bring so much value to this conference, obviously your perspective and your expertise. And it's great to have you around, because I know people stop you, they'll ask you questions, and which is why there's the networking events, and you have a glass of beer or a glass of wine, and you still have these conversations. I mean, it's a little bit of an easier flow, I would say, and just more nonchalant. Obviously, you're not giving out your highest legal advice at this point, but I think it's great to have these conversations.
It really is. It's good to have these conversations out there. People are less intimidated if you're just having a casual conversation here. Sometimes that's all they really need. They really do. It just confirms that something you already know, and so they don't really need to hire a lawyer or anything else. Other times we realize, that's actually a bigger problem than you think. Maybe we should talk more about that. But most of them are resolved by you have a conversation in the hallway and you don't really see them again. That's again, glad to do that. It's a helpful thing to do. It's a good thing for lawyers to do that. Or anyone who has answers, they can help someone else. It's a good thing to share that.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you, for sponsoring most of this events. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great session. I know there will be lots of questions. Always got lots of questions when there's a legal person involved.
Looking forward to it. It's a very good session. I have really great panelists with me on the thing, so I'm very, very pleased.
Well, we're excited.
Okay,
Thank you.